Thank you for tuning in for our Beetlejuice YouTube watch party on this Wednesday, November the 18th. We have our special guests from the film, V. Neill, Tom Duffield, and Robert Short. They're going to be talking about the film as we all watch and think. So if you're at home right now, get your copy of Beetlejuice ready. Right now, we're going to be starting in just a couple of moments. Cue it up to the beginning, right when you see the logo of the Geffen ball, right when the music starts to play up and it fades in. And that's where we're going to be all starting it in sync. I'll count down three, two, one, play in just a couple of moments. We at Nostalgic Nebula, pre-pandemic times, used to put on many fantastic screenings at the Frida Cinema. It was our home base of operations, a nice little art house cinema in Orange County, California. We had Robert Short a couple of years ago for our 30th anniversary screening of Beetlejuice. That was a lot of fun. We also had a string quartet performing a tribute to Danny Elfman's score to entertain the folks just before the film started. Logan, Frida Cinema, of course, the doors are closed right now during these pandemic times. How can people help the Frida Cinema today?
Well, we are, as you said, our doors are closed, and we look forward to reopening. We've been doing drive-ins and streaming cinema in the interim, but obviously donations go a long way. Now more than ever, we are a nonprofit art house. So as always, I appreciate you putting these reunions on and sharing our story. The best and most immediate way to donate is to visit our donation page, which you see on your screen there, which is thefridacinema.kindful.com. And know that every dollar you donate goes towards both our ongoing programming. We have not stopped, fulfilling our mission, sharing films however we can in whatever safe ways we can. And then ultimately, hopefully, that's the plan, continues to be the plan, reopening slowly at first, of course, and then that fateful day where we can have another Nostalgic Nebula event and invite all of you guests, if you ever want to come down behind the orange curtain to visit us and talk Beetlejuice, talk Mrs. Doubtfire, talk about any of your amazing projects. We love having filmmakers and talent down here to share their passions and give some context to the films that we all know and love and have memorized. So thank you. Thanks, Cody, for having me on. Looking forward to introducing everybody.
No problem, Logan. Be sure to click on the link down below in the information section. You'll be able to give a donation to the Frida Cinema today. So, guys, if you have your movies ready, V, Tom, Robert, we'll go ahead and get the show on the road. And there's a nice long intro in the beginning there, looking over the model, so we'll be able to get the conversation started then. So, everybody,
Cody, I'm sorry, I'm a little new to the party. Could you take a moment just to introduce everyone and share with everyone what they worked on the film, what their role was on the film? Just for context, and also because, again, I'd love to know as well.
Oh, yes, certainly. So, of course, we have the renowned V. Neill and Tom Duffield, Robert Short. V. Neill worked on the makeup. Logan, if you'd like to pop up that image,
yeah, absolutely.
The famous image that we all have of V applying the makeup to Michael Keaton. It's one of the most iconic makeup jobs ever. It was really cool. I think not too long ago at Monster Palooza, you redid that makeup for the anniversary.
Steve Porte and I, who did the film, recreated it on this actor who actually does it up at Universal, and they did a great job. And then I also had another friend of mine who is an acrobat. She did, we put her in the Lydia sort of pseudo wedding dress for it, and they did a really great photo shoot. It was really fun.
And of course, we have art director Tom Duffield. He's worked on such movies as Men in Black 2, Ed Wood, and
he's got a fun little thing in his hand. I see.
Yeah, I just happen to remember I have one of those chatty Cathy Beetlejuice dolls. He pulled the string and he said, it sounds like Michael's voice too.
Really? Yeah, I've never seen one of those.
I got this literally 20 or 30 years. Let's see if it still works. I haven't pulled this. See what happens. You hear that?
Again?
When your head spins too, I can wind it up and the head will spin.
I heard you scream.
That's great.
Oh, that is awesome.
That's
okay,
fun.
Sorry, I'm going on eBay right now to look for that. And of course, we have special effects artist Robert Short, who created some of the most amazing visual effects, I want to say ever, because he worked on this film, making it one of the most timeless films because of the many practical effects involved between the makeup and the sets and Robert's great work on the special effects. And thank you, Robert. For those of you who live in the Orange County area, you might have joined us at our screening for the 30th anniversary of Beetlejuice. Robert was there, and if you remember, that was probably over an hour-long Q&A, which was originally slated maybe to be 30 minutes, but it was just so much information and Robert was just so kind to give us that information. And now you're going to hear a lot more coming up right now as we revisit Tim Burton's Beetlejuice, all of us together. If you're at home right now, make sure you have your finger ready on the button. We're going to be starting it. V, Tom, Logan, Robert, you ready to get the show on the road?
Ready to go.
Ready.
Excellent. All right, everybody.
No.
We're going to be playing the movie in sync in 3, 2, 1, play.
Wow, I did it.
I just got the title up a little Keffin ball.
The sound down a little so we don't have echoing.
So far, so good.
Excellent. All right, great guys. So I'll begin as I usually begin, I suppose. Maybe we could start with Tom. Tom, how did you come on to this project?
It's funny. Bo and I had just worked together for the first time on Lost Boys, and it was his first production design. I got him his first art director job. They asked for me, but I didn't have a union card, but he did. So I recommended him, and Bo said, well, first time I get a production design job, I'll hire you as my art director. So we worked together on Lost Boys, went really well. And then about a few months after we finished that, he sent me the script for this one, and I said, what the heck is this movie about? I read it. It was the weirdest script I'd ever read. And I go, okay, you sure you want to do this? Oh, yeah. Oh, by the way, if you're looking really close right now, look straight down on the screen, and you can see the back of the library. We built the house over it, and Tim said we'd never see the back of it, but you can see it's unfinished on the back.
Too many credits.
Where was this filmed? This town?
This is filmed in East Corinth, Vermont. It's about 25 miles from Barry, what's the other, Montpelier, Barry in Vermont.
It was a really cute little town. Not much to it, really.
No, it really wasn't.
There was like a little post office and a little general store. And was that barbershop even real? I don't even remember.
It wasn't a barbershop, but we made it a barbershop.
Yeah, and then there was the fire station. I remember.
Yeah, that wasn't a fire station either. That was just
But
a
we were
garage.
set up in front of whatever you made it. The fire.
Right. And that just blended there. Now we're in the model.
You know, funny you're talking about going on Lost Boys. I was also on Lost Boys, and
Oh,
I
really?
remember Bo coming to me and saying, "B, I'm about to start this movie that you'll be perfect for. You've got to get on it." And I said, "What's it about?" And he told me, and I said, "Well, who's in the production trailer? What's going on?" He said, I don't know yet. As soon as I get some names, I'll let you know." Well, Richard Hashimoto was the first AD on a film I did called 9 to 5. And so I called up Richard Hashimoto every week, and I said, "You've got to get me in there to meet that guy, that Tim Burton guy." And he said, "It's too early. It's too early." And I said, "Okay, well, I'm going to keep calling you till it's not too early." And that's what I did.
We had two models built. One cut one way and one cut the other way, so we could move the camera inside of it.
That's always a fun little reveal, as you were talking about, as it went from the town to the model, and then you see that.
Yeah, DreamQuest
Horrifying
built our models, and that was a deal. I actually went there with my set designer John Warnke, and we surveyed the town. I come from architecture, so I had the skills to survey the town, so we could just turn it over to these guys and make the model.
Look how young Alec Baldwin was.
Oh yeah.
A baby.
And we used to play touch football across the street from the house.
To this day, I see a lot of folks talking on the internets and such that they may have seen this movie dozens and dozens of times, but until they're told, they did not realize that it was Alec Baldwin.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
To this day, people 30 years old, 35 years old.
Yeah, I mean, they weren't even born anyway when
Yeah.
this movie was made.
Yeah.
Yeah. Considering most of them only know him from Saturday Night Live.
Yeah, exactly.
You notice that little wallpaper? We used it everywhere at some secondhand rows in New York. Each room has a different color of it.
And probably none of them even know who Gina Davis is.
I think of their own. That's a little newer.
Well, yeah. But that's
Great.
still an old movie.
And she won. Yeah, it is. And she won an Oscar for Accidental Tourist, which I also worked with her on. But it was great. Her mother used to bring cookies in this show, cookies and stuff to the set every day. It was fun.
I like it. If people pay attention, I think that's the same bottle of orange juice that's there on the counter that appears later with the beetle.
Oh, really? Oh, she gave everybody a crew gift of a picture with Beetlejuice on it.
Yeah.
Oh,
Still have that kicking around.
Yeah, he's somewhere too.
I don't think I got one.
Oh, you didn't?
I don't
Yeah,
remember that.
It was a big clear jug, about a gallon container for what you'd put orange juice in.
Yeah.
I don't remember that.
somebody has two then.
Damn. I have all my booty that I've gotten from my movies.
I think when we were shooting this
Pretty
too
much.
on stage, they were doing Michael Jackson's Thriller next door.
Yes,
Yeah, they were.
No, wait a minute.
Yeah.
No, they weren't doing Thriller. They were doing something else.
It was Michael though, because
Yeah, it was Michael, but it wasn't Thriller because
Yeah, because
they
Thriller.
did Thriller much earlier than that.
Yeah, 'cause I was doing Masters of the Universe when they were doing Thriller.
I was working on the A-Team when they were doing the Thriller
Yeah.
because they wanted me to come work, and I said, "Oh, great! You mean you're gonna let me go work 24 hours a day? I can work all day long on the A-Team, and then I'll go work all night long on the streets of downtown LA with a bunch of zombies." That's one of the few things I regret never doing was going.
You know,
to work
that
on
might have been
Thriller.
the Pepsi commercial where he burned his head. It's so long. There's our bridge.
I think
that we
it might
built.
have been the Pepsi commercial. I think you're right.
That's
Yeah.
the bridge. That's the little covered bridge we built.
Yeah, that was cool.
We had to use 1-ton concrete blocks to dam up the river to get the water level high enough so the car would fall into water. And that's just, oh, there's Maurice. He usually ran the wood shop. He's the guy that sawed off all his fingers.
Oh my goodness.
What?
What was this store, Tom? This hardware store? What was it? Just empty?
It was it was an empty store, Maitland's Hardware. God, I don't remember what it was before but see across the street, that building across the street, the brick building, we built that because they had a tiny little library that didn't look right, and Bo wanted to have something bigger, so we built that all around the existing little library.
And that wasn't the school? That was the library?
Yeah, the school is white. We painted a face, put like a red tongue on the steps, and you'll see it. Bo likes faces, so we put faces on everything.
I can't remember.
The
You see
school
the
is
school
just
at the
down
end.
the, yeah. Now you see when the car goes in the water, it had to be like 5-6 feet deep. So we put those concrete blocks on one side, and the storms kept blowing them away.
This is why they say never swerve to not hit an animal.
Right.
Yeah, that's very true. I had
So great.
one of my very first girlfriends did that. Swerved on the coast highway to avoid like a rabbit or something and flipped over her car.
Oh my gosh.
The devil dog.
What a great gag that is.
Oh, just so you know, we covered up the Roman numerals. You can just barely see them below them. Tim didn't want no Roman numerals on the clock, so we put regular numbers over it. And I think the coolest shot in the movie's coming up. We didn't have the money to do a big reverse. You'll see when they look in the mirror. So we just flipped the fireplace around, shot back through into our set, and flipped the negative. And you had a horse that had a dowel between the other horse, so she could go like that.
Yep. So yeah, we made Alan Monroe, who's the visual effects supervisor on the show. We tried to. The theory was to try and do everything in camera as much as possible. So instead of comping the room in the mirror or comping the horse in, we built built a horse and flipped it, and repositioned its legs so it had a mirror image of itself.
Mhm.
One horse connected by a rod, two horses connected by a rod.
And a pretty famous production designer, Rick Heinrichs, kind of designed the Saturn's sand field and all that stuff.
Yeah,
And
that's
Logan,
that's a forced perspective.
Mm-hmm.
if you could pop up the cog picture, originally this
Now watch,
wasn't
here's that scene I'm
Summerland.
talking about. Here's the scene. She goes like that. That's just a horse connected to another horse by down. We're shooting back into our set and flipping the negative.
And originally, Summerland was supposed to be a world of cogs, wasn't it?
Yeah, we designed a bunch of big gears rolling around, but it didn't make the movie.
And they were in troughs of methacel.
Yeah.
The weird shit you remember, right?
Yeah.
I just thought that one idea though for that shot was just so cool.
Yeah, and of course, we still have one of these around. Where is?
Yeah, Bo's got one of those too.
Oh wow.
Wow, that's great.
It's hard to pick up.
We're trying to do a Beetlejuice exhibit at the
That's
Academy
great.
Museum.
But yeah,
he has the model of the house.
Yeah, there was like 6 of these books made.
They're making phony ones now. You can get a phony one.
Well,
Somebody gave me a phony one, so I have a phony one sitting up on my little thing over there. They're cute.
We designed it after the what's it? Some Tom. What's the name of the kids' reader? The something Dick and Jane.
Yeah, it's like a Dick and.
It was a Dick and Jane reader. That's where we got the image for the cover.
We have a question on the chat. Chris Cookson is asking, what was it like working with a young Tim Burton? And then tied to that, I have a question too. When you're working with an auteur like Tim Burton, who's got a very visual style, specifically on Beetlejuice, how much of it was sort of pre-designed by Tim for you to actualize versus how much of it was, this is my aesthetic with a lot more room for everyone in the group to get creative with that aesthetic and create their own creations?
This was Tim's second movie that I'm, second feature film, and he was still developing that. But again, I've done 4 movies with Tim, and you sort of learned what his looks and his likes were. That's why when I did Ed Wood, I already knew the shorthand with Tim. I knew what he likes graphic things. He doesn't like texture. He likes blank walls with a couple of little interest things in them. You can see that in Ed Wood Scissorhands. But we were still developing it. But Tim was great. We used to play volleyball. He was a lot of fun before he became an international corporation. I mean, I haven't seen him in many years. He lives in London, but he was a lot of fun. He really was. We had a blast.
Yeah, I did all those films as well, and he's quite interesting. The last film I got to do with him was Sweeney Todd, and this was already after he was a megastar, and we shot that in London, and it wasn't the easiest thing to do to get me over there either. It was just because I went with Johnny. I mean, they really make it hard for you to go work there. We, on the other hand, don't make it hard for them to come work here.
Yeah, tell me about it.
We won't go into that.
Yeah, for our contributions, we tried to stay as true to Tim's drawings and sketches as we possibly could. That was one of the reasons why I got the job, was that there was a Rick Heinrichs critter that he had designed that was never used in the film in the end result. But it was a rather bizarre kind of skeletal creature, and the key was whether or not my crew could make an exact copy of what Rick had designed. And it was partially because we were able to recreate exactly what Rick had done, was one of the reasons why we got a chance to actually do the film. There were times where I had. Oh,
that's another one. That was an effects. That was an effects shot right there.
Yeah. But there were times where I would have to kind of look at a drawing and really have to double check with Tim as to whether or not he really wanted the character to look exactly like the drawing. Because there would be things like the Charman, which we'll see later on. His anatomy is completely off model to a human, as far as his feet and the dimensions of his legs and arms and things. And I was like, do you want this to look like a human, or do you want it to really look like your drawing? And Tim was like, no, just make it look like the drawing. So that's one of the things that kind of makes everything so fantastical. And I've seen people do replicas of like the Charman for other, for presentations and stuff, and they always make the mistake of actually making him human in his proportions, which is not, which isn't accurate. So it was an interesting kind of balance to go between reality and Tim's interpretation of reality, and us having to find exactly where Tim wanted to go with it.
God, somebody's at my front door. Excuse me for a minute. I will step away for a second.
Actually, Catherine O'Hara met her husband, Bo, who was the production designer on this. They met on this show. I went with them on their first date.
Oh, wow.
They were nervous about being together for the first time. She's great. She's really great.
This movie is so ingeniously cast. It's so perfectly cast.
Oh, yeah.
It's.
Well, it's Tim's regulars, Jeffrey Jones, Catherine, Glenn. Yeah, Glenn's not with us anymore. Here comes Glenn.
Yeah. There he is.
For those of you at home, the late, great Glenn Shaddix also voiced the mayor of Halloween Town in Nightmare Before Christmas.
We have a question. Somebody, Spirits with Spirits, is asking, I grew up in Kent, Connecticut, and I heard a rumor that the production was originally going to be in Cornwall, the next town over, as the town had a red-covered bridge. Does anyone remember that? Speak to that.
I just remember when we were scouting, Tim the big thing was we wanted that overlook of the town. And I remember he said something about we couldn't find it, and then he happened to see this placemat that had the picture of East Corinth on it. He liked that, and then they went to look at it, and everything was great, except they didn't have a covered bridge, so we filled that in, and that's how we did.
Did we stay in Cornwall?
No, we stayed in Barrie.
Yeah, I can't remember that too much.
Barrie Inn.
And then the same person follows up. Hello, we met at Monsterpalooza, and you bought my silhouette of Edward Scissorhands.
I'm sorry, say that again?
That same person who asked the question, Spirit with Spirit, says, also, hello, V, we met at Monsterpalooza, and you bought my silhouette of Edward Scissorhands.
Yep, I still have it.
That's great.
I have it right with my little, I have a, one of those like statuettes, that are made like they make it for, it wasn't done by, what's the big company that makes all those beautiful, come out, help me out, Bob.
Funko Pop.
Why can't I think of it? It's terrible. I've worked with them. Anyway, I have it. Yep. I love it. It's great.
Yeah, we worked a lot in this room. That's the only scene in the movie you'll ever see it.
Oh, wow.
That was that way. I can't. Why do we even do that one? But see that wallpaper again? We used it. It's a posy. Yeah. We used it everywhere. We used it on Accidental Tourist. Bo really liked it. Here's a nice cheap effect shot too coming up. This is great. We're trying to figure out how to do it in the camera, and you'll see when they cut back. We just put his head. That's just a big black cardboard there with some painted goo on it, and
yeah. And the neck piece. I still have that neck piece.
Right, the neck piece. I couldn't think what you call it, neck piece.
We glued that prosthetic on his neck. I still have one. It's kind of hard as a rock now, but
he was just kneeling down, and he just put his head over the board and had that, and that's how we did it.
On a production like this, where colors and visuals are key, how does the costume design and production design mesh up together and communicate and work together on the film like this?
Well, it depends on certain movies. It's real important. Other movies, not so much. When I did Ed Wood, it was real important, and Colleen Atwood is our costume designer on that, and we did really great. We always show each other samples so we know how the costumes are going to look against the backgrounds. But in that movie, she was doing another movie in Texas, and she didn't compare one of her costumes of one of the girls, and the girl blended into the drapery, and it was kind of like a floating head. But this one we didn't really get into it that much with the costume on this. It was pretty straightforward.
Right on.
For those with a quick eye, you might have noticed that Otho's shoes indeed did change colors over the past couple of shots.
Oh, no, I didn't notice that.
I didn't either.
They switched from red to white and then back to red, I believe.
Somebody goofed. Uh-oh.
We always like this, where he's got this real nervous foot. Oh no, this is the one with all the this is Tim's comment on magazines and all the little things falling out.
Well, yeah. So the previous shots where Alec is running around with his head off like that, that's all done. That's Alec with his head just bent forward with a appliance piece on his shoulders. And then there was a running torso that had mechanical arms that would go back and forth. But it was, again, one of those all practical sequences, especially the shot where Alec runs into the attic and then closes the door. That was an idea that I stole from a Sean Connery James Bond film on how to do that. It's a mechanical body that runs through the door, and then it's Alec with a neck piece that actually closes the door. And you notice the body disappears off screen for a nanosecond, and then the actor steps in, and then we're back to.
Tim really wanted yellow sand here, and we couldn't find yellow sand, so we bought aquarium sand. We had like a truckload of aquarium sand. It's yellow epoxy coated sand.
Yeah, and the door, the kitchen door that you're seeing, is only like 2 feet tall, and it's sitting right beside them. But it's built in scale, so it looks like it's way far away from them in the distance.
That one.
And then this one is full scale, but the one that was like you saw with that one there is actually only like 2 feet tall.
You know, what was so great was, you know, you're talking about wardrobe and stuff, and, you know, the Maitlands have the same wardrobe on for the entire film. But when you get to look at all of these guys, especially Catherine O'Hara's character, who had so many wardrobe changes, but her makeup basically stayed the same, but her hair was always different. And Yolanda Toussaint was our hairstylist on the film.
Right.
And she was just amazing. She came up with all these like kooky hairdos for her, and, you know, Aggie was like always working on putting crazy stuff in her hair. Like this, she's got a set of opera gloves holding her hair up, and, you know, we glued stuff to her face with like duo adhesive, like spit curls and all kinds of fun stuff with her. Catherine was amazing to work with. She's such a character.
You see the Chinese food? That was another Tim joke. They use my nickname, Duffy. It's Irish Chinese food.
Yeah, especially with the. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say, seeing Winona here just reminds me. This was kind of the beginning of goth culture.
Absolutely. You know, when we got her, I have a couple of Polaroids of her, what she looked like when she came to us. She was only, 14 when we did this movie?
Yeah.
I think she had done Heathers maybe and something else, I'm not sure. But she was so cute. She had like dirty blonde hair. It was kind of wavy, dirty blonde hair. And I took a couple of, thank God I did. I took a couple of Polaroids of what she looked like when she walked into the makeup trailer. And then I took a couple of Polaroids of what she looked like after Yolanda got finished dyeing her hair and giving her bangs the, you know, chopped up haircut and stuff. And it was fun.
Another thing too, we shot this in reverse. We shot this way first, the way it was postmodern construction, and then we stripped it all off, and then we went to the old style at the end for the rusty, regular old ranch house, because we didn't have time when we got there to convert it. So we shot it this way first, and then we shot the old Maitland way second.
Who built those sculptures?
You know, I don't really know. That was from props, but I'm not really sure who built those. I know we sketched out some sketches for them. We wanted really goofy and stupid looking, and I honestly don't know who did those. Came from props.
Earlier, you guys were talking a lot about Tim's designs and everything. When I first got the sketch of Beetlejuice, it was literally like a little sketch on a corkboard in the production office trailer, and the guy looked like a derelict, like somebody had been digging around in trash cans. So when I went to go do tests on Michael, I did him just like the picture that he drew, and I took him to Tim, and he goes, "Oh no, that's too disgusting. Nobody will ever want to look at him." I said, "Okay." He said, "Maybe just, you know, make him look not quite so disgusting." And I thought, well, okay. Well, and in the same breath, I'm thinking, well, everybody else in this world that he lives in is like pastel colors, supposedly. I mean, when I had my first interview with Tim, or one of the first ones, when I talked to Tim and he told me he wanted everybody in the afterlife to be pastel colors, and I said, "You mean like Necco wafers?" And he goes, "Yeah, just like Necco wafers."
That's great.
And for those of you who are too young to know what Necco wafers are, they're these sugar discs that are absolutely disgusting, but they're all pastel colors. But of course,
we use those as our model for Edward Scissorhands, the town. All the houses were painted Necco wafer colors.
That's right. Must have been a favorite of his. But we decided after we got going that the colors were much too faded. We needed a little bit more, depth to the colors. So when I did another test with him and sent pictures back. He goes, no, it's not quite right. And I said, hey, why don't you just let me do what I want to do, and let's see if you like it. And if you don't, maybe I'll go way over to the other end of the spectrum, and then we can come back from there. It just seems silly for me just to be going in increments, So took him back to the trailer, and also Michael didn't want his nose. He wanted his nose to look different. So he said, can you give me a broken nose? Well, we had no budget to do any of that. So Steve Laporte was there with me, and I said, Steve, do you happen to have any broken noses from some show you've ever done? And he goes, nobody. Says, but I have these swollen lips. I said, okay, well, he says, we could put one on each side of his nose and we'll make him look like he has a broken nose. So that's what we did. We glued him on. I said, do you have the molds? He goes, yeah, I can run 1 million of them. I said, perfect. So we did that, and that's when I said, well, I think we should make him almost like a real pale yellow, almost white. So that's what I did. I mean, everybody thinks he's white, but he actually wasn't white. It was a pale yellow. It just, it just reads white because it's so pale. But he is actually the only one that wasn't like one of those actual colors. I didn't want him to be yellow because it was just too, I love this scene. It's your favorite scene, right, Cody?
Yes, it is, and it's fun. It's our first full look at Beetlejuice.
Right.
Well, almost full look. He's got the hat on and the glasses on, and then we get the bigger full reveal later. But this song that he sings right here just cracks me up every time.
Well, it establishes the texture of the model.
Oh yeah, it's beautiful,
yeah.
And that grass. I tried to recreate that just by buying some.
It's finger foam.
But
yeah, it's finger foam, and we sprayed it green. And then I had to figure out when he's digging in the ground, all the different layers blown up, like cardboard and foam and cork and all that. And this is one part, Bo took me to task here at this lock in the door. It's got a Phillips head screw on the keyway there. They didn't have Phillips heads back when this was built.
Oh, yeah.
You missed it. So from then on, they hide Phillips head screws in all the sets I worked on after that because it was I had to find it.
That's funny.
You can see that it's kind of showing you where that line's going to be. You can kind of see it. It telegraphs it, and the hinge is right behind that pipe I said before.
And it's one of those things that
we had to finger lap it.
Yeah. And it reminds you that once again, we didn't, once again, this was one of those films that was right on the cusp of people beginning to use computers to do compositing and everything. But this is one of the last films that was just completely analog. And so there wasn't any, we'll just fix it in post, and just smooth out the edges.
No.
And barring any Marcel Marceau references, it's those kinds of practical effects that keeps this movie timeless. And for you folks at home who are just tuning in, this is Cody with Nostalgia Nebula. We're doing a YouTube watch party of Beetlejuice. We have makeup effects artist Neill. We have art director Tom Duffield and special effects artist Robert Short. We're also accompanied by Logan Crow, the executive director of the Frida Cinema. Be sure to go down to the link below in the info section, and you can help keep the Frida Cinema afloat today. Give us your donation for this beautiful art house cinema nonprofit in Orange County, California. Tom, when I had discussions with Sean Hargreaves for our watch party for 13 Ghosts, which involved an elaborate glass house, he said that over the years he's gotten many requests from people for the plans for that glass house. Have people accosted you for any plans or art for?
No, I do have a lot of I do the original drawing, like for Edward Scissorhands. I drew all the castle and designed all the castle stuff, so I have those drawings, and the Academy has them, and whatever. Tim loved this. That's so Tim. You think he's going to look out the window and see something pretty, and it's this bird ripping apart meat. I just thought that was hysterical.
That was great.
That's Tim. That was totally 100% Tim. And for this movie, we did so much design in the model because it's postmodern at the time was a big deal. And we did a couple of models. And there's the one I was telling you about. That's all fake. That's all fiberglass brick. The real building's behind it.
And keep your eye out for that sweater that Charles Dietz was wearing, that red sweater. Talking about the great costumes for the Dietzes, you're going to see Catherine O'Hara wearing that sweater as pants
or something later on.
Later scene.
I love that sweater. There you go. There's your legs.
Yeah, you can see next time you see the cut off legs. That was Tim's girlfriend at the time.
Just the legs,
then. And I believe was this new technology or the way that you were applying the makeups in this V?
Yeah, this is actually. I think this is probably the first time that airbrush makeup has been used extensively. In at all. I mean, it had been used a little bit, I think, on Spaceballs. Steve had done a little bit of airbrushing, but they really didn't have that technology yet. They didn't have an airbrush type makeup that you could use safely back then. Most of the airbrushing that was being done was on masks and stuff, and you really couldn't use that type of paint on face. So this was a specific one, and they actually, made a lot of these colors for me. Like they made Miss Argentina's colors for me, and some of the other ones, because they really didn't have vibrant colors like this. But I just love her makeup with that tomato colored wig and stuff. She was so cute.
Yeah, I think the wig department had the same. I think Yolanda had the same problem with having to figure out how to get such vibrant colors in the wigs as well.
Yeah, I think there was a lot of RIT dye being used.
Yeah.
Yeah, we didn't have much money, so those sets were cheap. I mean, it was just cheap.
No money.
Yeah,
we had no money.
I wonder where those sets are.
We'd done some early experimenting with airbrushing early on. There were some early discussions, and one of the reasons why we kind of everybody went down that road was thinking about how Daryl Hannah had applied the makeup to her Pris character in
Blade Runner.
Going, well, if she could apply that, that's kind of maybe there's something there. But then we did some experiments with the airbrushing and the day and neon glow lipstick and some of the and some with the makeup. And what happened is that when it was shot on 35 millimeter film, the glowing makeup, like the lipstick and stuff, wouldn't focus. It wouldn't focus on the film. It was weird. It had this soft focus to it, no matter what they did.
Very blurry,
lab.
yeah.
Yeah,
it's a real blurry effect.
It was so the light reflected is much higher and it blurs the film.
Yeah. So it was like that was a complete accident. It wasn't what anybody was going for. But once the tests came back from the lab, it was like, this is a really cool effect, which is why you see, like in the shots of the secretaries and stuff, they have this kind of soft, weird glow to them. That's all in camera.
So we called him the tire guy.
I love the tire guy.
Messenger. And of course, that's an actor, Philippe, behind the flat body that we did. And then my lead shop supervisor plays the Charman down there, and it's a human head sticking out through the wall, and the rest of him's, a puppeteered body.
This set is basically based on Frank Lloyd Wright's Johnson's Whack Building in I think it's in Oklahoma. They have these like we call them tornadoes. There's columns in it, and it's all from the whole set. That's all painted backing back there. The set's only about 30 feet deep. But the scenic artist did a great job on the backing. I think it was Eddie Strang. This is a set I did that is a forced perspective. That door at the end of the hallway there is about 2 feet tall.
I had pieces of this set for a while. I was storing them somewhere. I don't know why I wanted them, but they were cool. I mean, they threw everything away at the end of this movie.
Everyone
they
did
chopped
back
everything
in those
up,
days, yeah.
and I took all. I was crazy. I went one day and I said, "What are you doing with all that stuff?" They said, "We're throwing it away." I took a whole bunch of the tombstones out of the trash can.
Wow.
I got the
That's
Beetlejuice
cool.
coffin lid. I
Wow.
had that forever. And at one point, I bought that black and white couch, that you see roll in at the beginning, that cowhide couch. I think Bo had that for a long time.
He did.
And I bought it off of Bo eventually, and then I sold it eventually as well. But they just chucked everything. They just chopped everything up and threw it away.
One thing you'll see that was a surprise to all of us is when they do the shrimp scene coming up, this is the way the set was designed. But then when Tim wanted all the chairs to fall back, they would hit the wall. So the last minute, we had to extend the set like 3 feet on each side, like right before we shot it.
That always gets my heart pumping when I see them go back like that. What's your head?
Sylvia Sidney. And I love, Robert, I don't know if you did, I love the way the smoke comes out her slashed throat. And that was one of my favorite things with her.
Thanks.
That
was one of the things that the effects team, the practical effects team, came up with this weird smoking cylinder canister thing. And what happened in the first couple of takes is the smoke wouldn't get up to through the tube quick enough. It's very hard to time it out. So in the end result, I ended up just lighting up a cigarette and just popping the tube and putting the tube in my own mouth. And then I could time the smoke out better by actually just exhaling after taking a drag off of a cigarette. So
Sylvia Sidney said to me one day, I'm sorry, Bob.
Yeah, go ahead.
Sylvia Sidney said to me one day, she goes, the only reason I got this job is because I'm the only damned old lady still that smokes. And I went, oh, really? She goes, yeah. She goes, nobody smokes, just me.
Yeah, and it was what was funny is that we were told, because we had to go to the Chateau Marmont to make the casting of her neck in order to do the sculptures, and we were told by Hashimoto and the rest of the rest of the people, walk on eggshells. Don't make sure you treat her with respect. Just be really cautious around her. She's really old school. So just be very careful about everything that you do. And then when we got there and started to very carefully set up everything and get the smock on and stuff, she was like, "Come on, just throw it on. We're just come on, you can't damage me. I'm good to go with anything." So she was a sweetheart. She was
cool.
She was just like, whatever you want to do. Yeah, you want to cover my whole body in this alginate stuff? Go for it. I don't care.
And her little dogs.
Yeah. But yeah, she was great. But yeah, every time I see the smoke come out of her neck, I always remember having to just go the super simple way of just taking a drag on a cigarette and just blowing it through the tube.
Mm-hmm. Just like 150 millimeter cigarettes too.
Yeah, look at it.
It's like this long.
It's like a foot long.
And it gets longer too. I don't know.
This is a great part with the fly coming in here onto the model. And great work with the music by Danny. I love the music for this part.
Yeah. And the fly is a rod puppet, and there's no opticals done. It's just a black background with puppeteers in black right behind the fly. You can't see them because it's black, but the puppeteers are actually in the shot. And then we shot it undercranked in order to get the wings to flap as quickly as they are doing. And then the little arms and head are all articulated with cable, but the puppeteers are actually right there in the shot. But it's
product placement.
This is fun. I didn't know some of this stuff either.
Yeah, I had to design the letters for that headstone. They just couldn't get it right. Oh, this is a great little set we did on stage. It's just an angled piece of glass. We put some water on it like New York, and that's a black and white translite, an early version of a translite backing.
Robert Goulet.
Yep. That was one of my favorite little, it was so simple, but it was great.
And I know these kids don't know who he is.
Exactly.
They got to go watch Camelot.
Yeah. He was also a famous singer, everybody. Look him up.
He has a very funny cameo on The Simpsons. He appears as a singer on there.
Well, I was thinking Scrooged, Robert Goulet's very Cajun Christmas. That's how my first point of reference. And this
He was like a big Las Vegas singer towards the end of his career.
He sang Donkashane, right? Was that him?
No.
Who's that?
That was the young guy there.
Wayne Newton.
Wayne Newton.
Yeah.
He was before Wayne Newton. He was Wayne Newton before Wayne Newton.
Randall McDowell says, thank you for creating such a wonderful movie that I cherish a lot. One of the watchers here.
Those are Porte sheets. They cost $400. Richard Hashimoto flipped out. We spent that much on sheets that we cut holes in.
Yeah, and
Wow.
and the irony is that in the film they state, oh, they're $300 sheets, and they were actually
Yeah.
they were actually in real life $400 sheets.
Yeah, and he said you couldn't use $50 sheets or $20. So you had to use $400 sheets. I don't remember why we picked Portese. It was either Bo or I don't know where we came up. Maybe Tim wanted them. I don't know.
Yeah, and
This is a great scene.
They're
with
beautiful
Prince
sheets.
Valiant.
yeah, and the physical effects guys created floating platforms that were on air
bearings.
air
right?
cushion floating platforms, which is why they float through the scenes. You'd think that they'd be on wheels, but they're actually on air powered hoverboards.
I don't think I'd ever noticed the very sort of Francis Bacon paintings that are hanging around on the walls there. Were those created for the film as well, or?
Show me one and I can tell you.
They just walked by it. It was like a figure, a white figure with like blood streaks on it. That's cool.
We tried to get Cheryl in on this movie as a decorator, but because our decorator actually, Chris Westland, died at the very beginning of pre-production. He was one of the first people I knew who died from AIDS.
Wow.
And so Cheryl was her lead man. We tried to get her bumped up, but it was a union thing. We couldn't. So I think we had one named Kathy Mann, I think, was a decorator. But Cheryl still had a big role in all this.
I just love the walls. I remember.
It's like a
I don't know
Zolatone.
I don't know what I was doing, but I was walking through the set one day at the dining room, and they were repainting the dining room over probably, which might have been wallpaper in there. And I was just fascinated watching the painters do all this faux painting on everything, which was kind of before it was like the thing to do.
Well,
and it was just so interesting to watch them. It was so much fun.
Yeah, because this is so forward thinking that this is so quote unquote, the remodel is so outrageous, but by today's standards, it's like, hey, this is really cool.
Well, at the time, this kind of paint was called Zolatone, was a special paint, and that we didn't use it. It was too expensive, so we had the painters mimic Zolatone. It's a granite look, basically.
Right, which you mostly get in the spray can.
Right, and they would spatter it with with their regular big air.
Tom, they were doing stuff that looked like marbling.
Oh,
in
that's
the dining room.
Up the stairwell.
Yeah, the stairwell.
And
it
was fascinating. It was fascinating. I had so much fun. I would just sit there and watch them. They said, is everything okay? And I said, yeah, I'm just fascinated watching you guys. Can I watch a while? They said, sure.
Yeah, Clyde Zimmerman was our paint supervisor, but we had this guy from either Austria or Germany who was really good at marbleizing and graining stuff, and he did all that.
Hello.
Something tells me that Winona was 16. I think or older, because we worked with her more than 8 hours a day. I mean, I don't remember having to quit early because she was a minor.
Was she 16? Maybe she was.
I think so. I mean, I could be wrong.
I just thought she was so young.
Oh no, she was small too. She looked young, very young.
Yeah, maybe. She really looked much younger when she came in with her blonde hair. She
was
like
blonde, really?
Kid. She had blonde hair when she came in.
I've never seen her.
You can actually see her roots in this shot right here. She just tipped over. You saw light brown hair.
Didn't know that.
Yeah, it was kind of a dark, kind of a dirty blonde with highlights.
But I noticed the spiky bangs were gone in that shot.
I think it's just the way she has a brush, because we used to pinch them. They had like little wispy tips on them. They used to put like gel on them and Yolanda would gel them to point into little points like that. They didn't just grow that way. They would fluff up and do stuff. There's the sweater.
Yeah, so there's where she's wearing the sweater. And
See,
I don't know
there they are. They're
how
all
many
spiked
people
up
actually
now.
picked up on that.
We recreated most of that furniture. Was all very, very trendy furniture. We recreated a lot of that. Another thing you'll see too, when the tile floor is supposed to be a big human grater. You'll see it when they do the high shot.
See, there's those marbleized walls.
Yep. It was the wood paneling in the dining room.
Yeah, I couldn't remember what it was they were painting, but it was really bitchin'. I can't remember who it was that gave Gina the nickname Fruit Basket, but we used to call her Fruit Basket. And I don't know why they did it, but it was really cute.
Did her mom bring her fruit basket to the set? Something like that?
I don't remember what it was.
All those branches are made out of wire and foam pipe insulation, and then sprayed with a stuff we call spewy, which is basically a really thick texture.
I wonder if Tim still has this tombstone.
I don't know. Probably.
Somewhere.
Danny Andreyko made all those trees.
One of the greatest greensmen of all time.
Yeah.
So originally, when they dug up Beetlejuice, there was supposed to be a like a torso of a weird-looking skeleton that pops out of the grave and flies up after them. And after they get scared by this like flying apparition, they look up and realize Beetlejuice is up, sitting in a tree branch, puppeteering the little. See that. And just before we got into this sequence, Tim decided that it would be better to have Beetlejuice actually like fly out of the grave as opposed to the puppet creature.
Yeah, but you can see all the texture when he dug the hole that we had to fake like this was actually inside in the reduced scale of the model. I love the moss, the mold. That's my favorite thing about the makeup. I loved it.
Thank you. You know how I came up with that? It was so funny. I said, well, you know what we should do? I said, I want him to look like he just like crawled out from underneath the rock, because he does come up out of the grave thing. So I sent a PA to the like a Kit Craft, like a model store, and I said, get me bags of crushed colored foam. Different colors of crushed colored foam.
I've used that, yeah, for models.
Moss and stuff. And I said, well, so I painted on what's like a silicone glue. We don't use this particular kind anymore. It was $3.55, but and I just painted it on, and then I would just take it and go wherever it stuck. That's what you got. So I really had to take really good pictures, because the first time I did it, I just kind of like willy-nilly'd it.
Yeah, then I
went, oh,
and the
Jesus,
continuity.
I gotta match this stuff, But thankfully, if I remember correctly, Michael only shot like 2.5 weeks on the movie. Am I mistaken?
Yeah, he's only got 15 minutes of screen time, if that.
Yeah, it's amazing, isn't it, that the only thing you really remember from the movie is him, and he's like hardly in the movie at all. It's hysterical.
Well, it just goes to show you the energy and the presence.
And I love the scene coming up where you're behind him and just letting your mind imagine what he looks like, and you see that stuff blur out. That's one of my favorite things, because it's letting you.
Yeah, fill it in, and that was in the storyboard, so that all worked out. And it's a freestanding unit that we put up on a C-stand. And that had to all work in one shot. Expand and then contract. There's air going through it to make the stuff flail around. as well as a mechanical opening. But the main thing is we had to make sure that we had this safety face shield in front of Michael,
Michael.
so that
Yeah.
nothing went wrong.
It's funny. Everybody thinks his wig is kind of green, but it was all a reflection of the grass around him. His wig was actually a very pale yellow.
Right.
And a kind of a dirty blonde and pale yellow. It was really nasty looking. I mean, Yolanda still has the original wig, and when I duplicated it, she sent me pictures of the wig. Yeah, she's gonna send it to the Academy to put in the museum or something.
That's good. Now that wasn't done in camera.
Ooh.
Yeah, one of the few opticals in the whole film.
Right.
That's weird. I never get tired of watching this movie. It's so stupid. I've seen it a million times,
Yeah.
and I never get tired of it. It opens up my reel and it closes my reel. Everybody says, "Bea, your reel's so long," and I said, "Well, I didn't even put all my stuff in there." At the beginning of my reel, it says it's showtime, right? And at the end of the reel, it goes, "That's why I don't do 2 shows a night." It's just a great film. It was fun to work on. It was kooky. It was like, you got to experiment with stuff because you just never knew what he was going to ask you to do, or what was going to go wrong, and you had to oh, here we go. My favorite scene of the movie.
Yeah. Of course, we have individual little shrimps in the bowls, and the bowls are here. They're metal, but the ones that we use for the puppeteered stuff were rubber. And then, of course, the shrimps themselves are just simply gloves. But the tough thing about making the whole thing work was getting all the puppeteers under the table and kind of layering them in underneath each other, and then being able to coordinate their moves so they all came up at the same time was kind of the side of a nightmare. But everybody got really friendly under that table, to say the least.
And there's Dick Cavett, who was another famous. He was like a late night host, right? So they had like cameos of all kinds of crazy people in this movie.
Oh yeah.
Let me see what I got.
All I know is Yolanda and I were on the other side of the kitchen door, waiting to do touch-ups and stuff. We were laughing so hard during this. We blew so many takes because everybody couldn't keep a straight face. We were laughing so damn hard. It was so much fun.
That wicked witch insults one to keep in the back pocket.
Yeah. And point of trivia, the little fins on the shrimp are actually leaves from a Michael's artificial plant thing, and it just happened to have the right size and look. So, and somewhere around here, actually in the house, I still have one branch left with the little leaves on it, being turned into shrimp tails.
So I just want to bring it up really quick. Notice how tight this set is right now until the chairs fall back.
Yeah. And the chairs were on hinges.
Yeah.
Right.
So they wouldn't move. We didn't want to take a chance of them hitting their heads on the wall. Now it's plastic ice in the ice bucket.
And then with this film, Calypso becomes a staple of Halloween.
Oh my God! Harry Belafonte
right.
must have made a fortune.
Can you imagine? I want that necklace this girl has on.
Oh yeah,
that was cool.
Even the chairs by today's standard are like, oh okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
you find those anywhere.
Yeah, the rabbit pelt backs were I never really went for those that much, but. Here we go. Now see how the set's so much wider?
Oh yeah.
Hello, folks. If you're just tuning in, this is Cody with Nostalgic Nebula. We are doing our Beetlejuice YouTube watch party with V. Neill, Tom Duffield, and Robert Short. Also have Logan Crow here, proprietor of the Frida Cinema. Frida Cinema's doors are closed right now, but you can help keep it afloat. Go down into the info section down below, click the link, and you'll be able to donate to the Frida Cinema today. And coming up here, once the Deetzes go up there to look for everybody, there's I believe a deleted scene when the Maitlands were hanging outside of the window, and the sandworm was jumping up to bite at them.
Oh, I thought didn't that make the movie where they come up and you can just see their hands hanging on the sill?
We do see that bit of them where they pop up, but
right.
No sandworm. No sandworm.
Where is that painting now?
I think that was a rental. I don't think we made it.
Kind of cool, actually.
The lady in the green dress, I think she was married to somebody famous, as I recall.
I don't remember her name.
I don't either, with you.
I don't either.
But I think she was married to somebody famous, as I recall.
I don't remember the lady in the gold dress's name either.
Mm-mm. I wonder if our audience knows who Dick Cavett is.
No, they don't know who Dick Cavett is. I mean, hell, we barely knew who Dick Cavett was. You know, I mean, it's like he was kind of passe.
He was like the lower level Johnny Carson show, you know, like this more intellectual, less humor, less goofy humor.
As a fan of the Marx Brothers, I do know he loved having Groucho on his show.
This is one of those hairdos where we glued her hair down to her face with those twirly cues.
Yeah, the little,
That thing, her little worms.
We're back to the spiky Lydia look.
And there's only a couple of scenes where you see her without her bangs being spiked, where she's just kind of hanging out and not being too clever looking, you know? Her au naturel look.
One thing we did here is we built all with old style rough sawn lumber. Nothing was finished lumber like today's. You know, all the houses back then, they didn't have S4S lumber. So it's all got that little hair on it.
I love that little bit by Catherine O'Hara there, her motherly advice. I post that clip every Mother's Day.
What, open the door, you dead people?
Was that an ad lib by Catherine? Because I don't remember that in the script. Open the door, dead people.
One of my other favorite lines of hers is where she goes into the library and said, "What was it?"
Oh yeah. If you don't let me.
Yeah, if you don't let me make this house my own, I'm gonna go I'm gonna go insane and take you with me.
Yeah, that
was
a great line. No, it's a perfect line.
I use that one quite often. My goodness, I'm like sitting in the dark here.
You know, it's getting dark everywhere.
But it's very moody, and
like I'm in the movie theater.
Yeah, and my copy of the recently deceased is actually the novel Lucinda Brayford by Martin Boyd. and it's an actual novel. 19 from 1948.
This was the scene we shot after I wasn't on the movie because this was a time when Steve Laporte did the Beetlejuice makeup and it looked completely different. And his hair looked different too.
I didn't know you left the movie.
Oh, well, it was pickup shots or something. I was
Yeah,
on a different film.
Yeah, because we did a couple of different endings.
Yeah, there was.
Yeah, because the first ending didn't work, and
the
then we
ending
shot
that we
two
wound
more
up using.
endings or so.
The ending that we wound up using, Steve did the makeup by himself on that one as well, and he looks different. He looks completely different.
That's the one you fix them up. We did the tile pattern. It's supposed to look like a human Vegematic as you look down at it.
And Logan, if you could pull up the snake picture, this was a second version of the snake, was it not? There was an original, more snake looking.
Yeah, we the snake was done by another company, the head, and we just did, originally we had done the snake with a snake-like head before. We had built and designed the head before V had solidified what Beetlejuice was actually going to look like. So when we went to shoot the snake with the snake head, it bore no resemblance whatsoever
There's the human
to Beetlejuice, and so there was no way to recognize him. So so instead of doing it practical on set, because there just wasn't enough time to revamp the whole design, the snake went to the snake head section went to another company, and what we were left with was the the body on the railing and the tail and stuff like that. But yeah, it was a design situation where once the Beetlejuice
this is
actual makeup design got finalized, our original snake.
This is a forced perspective set. I just want to bring it in before it goes away. We drew it in 20 minutes. And I left that day to go to Vermont to do all the construction there. This is something I just knocked together really quick. It was just without any kind of real accuracy. I just sketched something up, gave it to the carpenters, and they built it. They did a great job.
And then Beetlejuice doing the spikes here. This is all, that shot there is all real time. That's a giant thumb that we built with a giant finger behind him, and it's Michael between these two giant pieces. And then we had just finished doing Masters of the Universe, so we grabbed a Masters of the Universe chest piece of armor and created these spikes. So he's actually got some Masters of the Universe armor under all that with the flexible spikes attached.
It's feeling a little horny. This is a total bow design here. This one, we've used that same motif a couple of times afterwards with the big open mouth thing and the devil mouth.
Yeah. And I noticed at the Universal Horror Nights Beetlejuice walk-through attraction, they also have a full-scale Dante's Inferno room, but they changed out girls and they renamed it ghouls. Things are a little bit more PC these days.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Sometimes I look at some of these old movies and I think they couldn't make that movie now.
Oh, lots of those movies.
I mean, one that comes to mind immediately is like Blazing Saddles.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, no, you can never make that movie hit now. Oh, no.
Oh, yeah, I was just thinking about the
This is where we used, phosphor paint in the background so the people would glow.
Yeah. And the football players turned out to be a problem for us because we just figured, we'll just rough up some jerseys and cut them up and rough them up and they'll be fine. You know how indestructible football jerseys are? So one of our biggest problems was trying to figure out how to destroy the jerseys.
Except if you'd have gone back to the 70s and got tearaway jerseys. Remember they used to have those in college football? They banned those. forgot how pretty it was.
I kind of wish we would have known that that was going to be such a dark set, because it would have been better if the football players weren't that dark blue and they were a totally different color. But you didn't know till
you don't know until
we get in there,
It's fine, but the dark kind of hides some too. Let your mind, kind of fill it in a little bit.
Yeah.
You do get to see him another. You get to see him in
at
another
the
scene,
end.
and you can see him. Yeah.
At the end, they're standing on the staircase.
Yeah. Well, there's another scene in that room again where I think you see him too, and they're a little bit more well lit.
Yeah.
Right. But we always kind of imagined him as being a little more bright and kind of in your face, and then in the end result,
Mm-hmm. It was funny because even the waiting room set wasn't real bright, but it didn't come off like that, and there were some darker colors in there too.
Yeah.
Well, I think the thing was it was hard to put big light in that set because it was so tight, and it was in the other set.
Oh,
yeah, it was a tiny set.
Tiny. There were, if I remember correctly, there wasn't any wild walls or anything.
No.
It was working within the confines.
Because we built that sort of inside with the background of the other, the big room set.
Did you build that furniture, Tom? That desk she's at that looks like drapes?
Well, let me see.
It looks like a drape.
We built almost all the furniture. Yeah, I think we did. I don't know.
That is the coolest
Cheryl.
design. Look, it's just like a drape going across.
Right. It's like drapes
beautiful.
going down and a swag across the middle.
That is beautiful. I wonder where that is.
And we built this, I remember looking into that big room, so we didn't have a lot we could do. Because also, too, it's so much backlight, it's hard to get fill light on them, but there they have it.
Yeah. I think also there was the black light, there was, all the different colors going on.
Right.
And I don't think that blue was particularly reflective that we used on them. So it's too bad. We could have put some of that fluorescent coloring in there and it would have brightened them up, but didn't know.
Yeah. And these particular designs are pretty much right from Tim. There were several different versions leading up to this where they stretched their faces in all kinds of different directions, but Tim centered in with just like one sketch per each of these guys, and that was what we went with.
There you go.
Here they come.
Yeah.
See, now you see them better. Not for long, but you do see them for a minute there.
They're there.
Love how high Winona's hair is in that one part.
Yeah, never did find out what happened to that little miniature.
Yeah. I mean, of Dante's?
Yeah.
Yeah, I have no idea.
Yeah. So when I was just going to point out, when Beetlejuice starts, when they start doing their pantomime and Beetlejuice is doing his hints, this is a good example of not going with compositing, but everything was like live on set by using 50-50 mirror. The orange juice pouring and the beetle appearing. The beetle that we see is actually a miniature that's about 6 inches tall, and we actually built a miniature of the attic for that shot. For the beetle. So the beetle's sitting in a chair in a miniature of the attic that we built as like one set, one little set piece. And then when he does the orange juice and stuff, that's all like a 50-50 mirror that Alan Monroe set up, so that it looks like an optical, but it's all shot live on stage.
Two words. First word
somebody's sound is up really loud, and I can hear yours, and mine's just behind it. It's very disconcerting.
Right. So yeah, that's all a little tiny miniature set with the beer. And this is live on set with a 50-50 mirror glass shot.
Oh, also, I just remembered something else. Because we didn't want to mess around with Michael's fingernails, I had my manicurist come and put acrylic nails on Michael so that his fingernails are just like that, and he never had to worry about them popping off or doing anything. And it was really hard to tell her to make them look all crusty and broken and full of holes and stuff, but she did a great job. I was really surprised that Michael let us do that, but I said, that's only for a couple of weeks. She'll be fine. We'll take them off afterwards. We'll all be good. I said, you won't have to mess with, trying to keep them on all the time and sticking them on. That would have been a righteous pain. I did the same thing when we did Lost Boys. That's why I knew to do that, because all the boys had those fake razor blade fingernails on.
So coming up here, when they start retransforming back to normal, one of our tough things was to figure out how to get Alex's nose, that his elongated nose, to collapse in his hand. Because if we made it a solid rubber piece, it would bend and you'd see it. So we had to actually create some kind of way of making it completely hollow. So it's foam rubber, but it's hollow, so that it'll collapse in on itself and disappear behind his hand, which was a little bit of engineering that we hadn't anticipated being a problem. Because at first we made the nose solid, and then it would just squeeze out between stuff. I have a feeling things will go better. What do you mean better? Well, we've decided that we're going to invite you and your family to stay.
And folks, if you're just tuning in, this is Nostalgic Nebula, Cody with Nostalgic Nebula. We are doing our YouTube watch party of Beetlejuice in benefit of the Frida Cinema. Go ahead and go down to the info section down below, and you can click a link to help keep this non-profit art house afloat. We have ourselves V. Neill, Tom Duffield, and Robert Short doing some commentary on Tim Burton's Beetlejuice.
Just FYI, they couldn't really get that model through the door.
That was a question always in my mind.
No way.
No. The
Miracle of Wild Walls.
Yep. The other thing that fascinates me, because we're coming up on this, the other thing that fascinates me is that he only wears the striped suit for less than 60 seconds in this film? Yet it's, probably 2 minutes max.
That's what everybody emulates.
It's become, the icon.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Well, this other one, he just looks like a degenerate. He looks like a homeless person. It's not very, it's just not much fun to look at,
And then he just morphs into the red tuxedo or whatever it is.
Yeah. No, he's in the stripes for just a moment.
Yeah, but you're right. This is the most iconic outfit. Probably because it's easier to remember.
Exactly. Another one of those very bold choices,
Yeah, right. It's become one of those things where if somebody shows up with black and white striped tights somewhere, go, here's Beetlejuice.
Yeah, that painting was a rental, that one.
I don't know, I'd never noticed those before.
To be honest with you, I haven't really focused on them either in 30 years. What year was this? 86, 87, I think it was?
87.
So yeah, we tried to be as trendy as we could for that period.
I think we kind of went way far in the future.
Well, yeah, I mean, we tried.
If you saw this someplace now, you would think it was right on par. I mean, it's pretty wild.
You know, and as I was mentioning before, you know, the goth look of all black and the Lydia's makeup, her wardrobe, her attitude is all pretty original in this film. It wasn't like she was following a trend. This was like,
well, there were still punks around and stuff, but she wasn't really punk, you know, so couldn't consider that. But she, you know, if you think about it, it's like, you know, always when you go dark, it's always pale skin and dark eyes, you know, and black hair and everything like that. You know, I go to a lot of conventions and I see a lot of people cosplaying characters. I'm surprised nobody's ever done them as the, you know, the shriveled up bride and groom.
Yeah, I've seen a couple, and what's interesting is that it's like you were saying about Beetlejuice's tone of his skin and his wig. I've seen a couple of people do the exorcism, Barbara and Adam, but they color the skin bright green. And the reality is that they were white.
Right.
But they're colored in green because of the lighting. But nobody knows. You know, it's like nobody knows. All they know is what they've seen on the film, so therefore it's green. You know, it always kind of takes me back when I see somebody with, you know, either doing artwork or makeup, you know, from this, because it's got this tone of green to it.
I mean, you do get those flashes of, you know, white every once in a while, but I don't think anybody really
picks up on that. Yeah.
No, exactly. It's just the overall tone is that green for sure. When they get the lightning flashes.
And here's some more 50-50, you know, mirror work that Alan did. And that's a piston going up through the table that the special effects department did. Again, trying to do all this practical. It also is interesting to watch this because you see how when you're only working with practical elements, how the cuts are done and what you want, what's shown to you and what's not, you know. And it's actually kind of refreshing that, you know, if you don't have CG, you have to be very careful about what you need. You got
to be creative. You know, you got to figure it out.
You know what? And I'm really happy that a lot of these newer directors are starting to use a lot more practical effects now.
Yeah.
You know, because it really, you know, I mean, CGI is great, but I think there's a time and a place for it. You know, CGI should only be used when you can't make somebody look like that, or when you have to make a giant monster or something. If you can make somebody look like that with makeup and do it realistically, it's so much more effective. I mean, because it's organic. You can tell that it's organic. You know, no matter how good CGI is, it always looks like computer, you know, work. You know.
Yeah, the audience can feel it.
Exactly. And now with, you know, digital photography, you know, I love film. That's another thing. A lot of, you know, some of these, you know, new young directors are starting to go back to film too, which is kind of refreshing because there is that whole, it's like fantasy. You're removed from that crispness, you know, that makes everything look so unrealistic. You know, this just has that beautiful, soft film look to it, you know?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That's a great scene.
Yeah.
Showtime.
And of course, their look has nothing to do with anything anatomical as far as what you'd really look like old age. This was we just wanted to do something that was very as stylized as the rest of the film.
And also, it kind of lends itself to the fact that they're like shriveling up and drying out. You know what I mean?
The detail's brilliant on this with all the little monsters hanging from the carousel.
Does the carousel go around in camera or is that added?
No, that's all. That's all.
I thought it didn't work.
That's all real time, and the fact that we had to have it lit and it moved with lights on the top, and the little animals had to go up and down, and his ears waggle back and forth. Needless to say, it was like problems on top of problems on top of problems.
I think we had a few snafus with that little
there was just so much, so much
so many moving parts.
Yeah, so many moving parts to go wrong. And then you'll notice, again, practically, we had to figure out a way to go from spherical hands to piston to hammers. So that was an interesting that was an interesting challenge to figure out how to create something round and then actually have it change into a mallet, which we had this round balloon, and then we had a piston inside of it, and then we'd evacuate the air out of the balloon as the piston came up inside, and it would suck the sides of the balloon around the piston and create that shape. So again, it was just like these experiments in how to do it all practical in camera.
Glenn was terrific, wasn't he?
I just want you two to know you're welcome at our house anytime.
I'm timing how long he's in that suit. I think it's going to be about 5 minutes.
5 minutes?
Right now we're at 4 minutes.
Oh, okay. I've never timed it before, and then we've got
there it goes.
We've got live yeah, he's about to change. In the shots of Gina and Alec on the table, we've got real Gina, and then we've got a puppet of Alec.
I got it. Somebody's at my door.
And there's that air. Now we got Gina.
Look, her hair looks pink there.
And then coming up, we'll have we've got the stop motion animation.
See, now they're not green in that shot. Why can't they figure it out that they're not green?
Yeah, I know. It's just something. Maybe people just lend themselves to green. It's like, why is Beetlejuice's hair always green?
Yeah, exactly. Well, because it looked green in that one shot.
Yeah, exactly. There's a couple of things that happen here. Gina tries to say when Gina tries to say his name, there's a plate that's put over her
clamps on her mouth.
First, it's the zipper. Oh, I'm going to say we've got the preacher creature here, who's actually dressed in. This is something that Alan Monroe drew up, and we kind of this is our in joke, is that he's dressed in the wardrobe of Miguelito Loveless, the villain from Wild Wild West, played by Michael Dunn. That was the inspiration for the preacher creature's wardrobe. It's patterned after the villain on the original Wild Wild West TV show. But the zipper that appears on Gina's mouth, we originally made it an actual working zipper, but we found she couldn't drag it across the makeup, so we ended up having the zipper. Oh, by the way, you'll notice the teeth actually flange out. The teeth themselves actually pronunciate. So it's not like dentures where they're all just solid. There's an actual mechanical device inside the dentures where the teeth are actually expanding out in order to make the pronunciation. And then Gina, in the end result, we had to just put a little tab on one side. Then it was up to Gina to actually take the tab off and then replace it on the other side of her face. Because originally it was going to be a functional zipper, and we found that wouldn't work. And then, of course, this is just a soft, a soft urethane thing that she's holding on by grabbing it with her teeth.
We modeled that truck after a little Tyco toy truck. Don't mess with her.
I remember when we shot the scene, Michael was sweating so
Oh,
badly. I think he was almost losing his bald cap. He was so hot. He was so active in this scene with all the dancing around and running and jumping, and he was just sweating bullets. There he goes.
And in that preacher suit, we have actor Tony Cox. People might recognize him from the Bad Santa movies.
There's the school. See, it's like a face. We always did like 2 eyes, a nose, a mouth,
right.
and a tongue.
That's like the old cartoons from the 40s, right?
Right,
30s and
exactly.
40s.
Right.
We did that
sing.
many times, yeah. The school still looks like that.
Like I see the little things on the step.
There's more of that posy wallpaper. I know Winona hated being in this rig. It was very painful. She told me that she really didn't like being in it.
Well, she did a good job of faking it.
Yeah,
She did. An actor suffering for her art.
exactly.
Mm-hmm.
And staying a cultural icon in horror, in the horror area, with Stranger Things all the way up till today.
Come on. Well, I suppose.
This is another one of those songs that's very popular.
Yeah. Just a reminder of the cultural impact of the
Yeah.
film.
I forgot we made a paperback book. I totally forgot we'd done a version of that.
I did too.
I wonder where that one is. That's probably rarer. It's probably a one-off.
Oh yeah, I've got that kicking around here somewhere.
Yeah, I think I don't remember making it, so you may have the only copy.
Yeah. So
Good save, Robert.
Yeah, so I've also got the little clay sculpture that she just walked away with.
Excellent. I was going to ask about that. That's a really excellent
No,
sculpture
that's
of the
that's
Beetlejuice
still
film.
kicking around.
Return of the Magician's Assistant.
There's Stefania's legs.
And this is the scene where Steve Laporte did the makeup by himself. You can see that he looks different, you know?
Mm-hmm.
He looks like he could be like a brother or something. So it's
The
slightly different.
The moss doesn't go quite as far down his neck and stuff like yours. Yours went all the way down his neck.
Yeah, it went down his neck and onto his face. It was
Right.
like all, yeah, it's a little.
There's those nails.
Yep.
I do like the broken nose. I didn't realize that wasn't something that was figured out all along.
Yeah, no, and it was 2 swollen lips. In fact, one day we took Steve put them on his lips and showed us where they went. We took pictures of him with swollen lips like that.
Oh, it
It was very clever. It worked really well.
Yeah, no, it did totally.
Michael loved it, so that's
Yeah,
all
like
that
I
mattered.
said, I didn't realize till now that wasn't intended the whole time.
He just didn't want to have his own nose, so
Yeah.
okay.
No, I think it's great. I really do. Don Heitzer, oh yeah. Bill Scott, the world's longest production meetings. 2 days on this movie.
Casey. Oh yeah, I worked with Casey and Jerry Fleck. I worked with both those guys after
Yeah.
that.
Catherine Mann, she was a decorator.
There it is. Yeah, and
there's
Cheryl's there.
Tom.
There's V.
You know, there's this guy in France that's doing a big Beetlejuice documentary.
Yeah.
And he came and he did the interviews with a lot of people here.
Me too. We're still waiting for it to come out.
Yeah, I mean, I've seen bits and pieces of it. I talk to him every once in a while.
Yeah, the poster they did for it is great.
Yeah, he gave me cards and posters, but he's overdue.
He did a really good job. He gave me a Beetlejuice doll too the last time he was here, so I have that. It's not the one you have, but it's a pretty great one actually.
There you are. Oh, you
Robert Short, yay!
Yay!
There's a short effects crew. What about the long effects crew?
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Yeah. So
I think we're probably after craft service on here. I'm not going to hold my breath.
No, you already gone by. You went by already, V.
I did?
Yep.
Oh. Yep. Well, imagine that. Usually we're makeup so far down the line now on credits, it's unbelievable.
Yep.
Doug Beswick. Wow.
Spent a lot of time.
I remember Doug.
And so, Robert, you were talking about the Beetlejuice maze that they put together for Universal, but of course, due to the pandemic, they were only able to have it open for 2 days over at their Florida compound.
Yeah, and originally they weren't going to open. They weren't going to open it. They had the Tooth Fairy and Bride of Frankenstein mazes, which they opened for the season. But at the last minute, they decided to open the Beetlejuice one as well. And it's so strange to see videos of people walking through it and see all of the stuff recreated. You know, they just, you know, it's always fascinating to see somebody else's take on it. And they actually did a really good job. They did a really good job with it. But what's fun is that, by the way, there's a lot of Beetlejuice merchandise that they created for this year's haunted attraction. That's available online from the Universal store. So I actually picked up a really cool hoodie. That's like, you know, they did some really good artwork for.
Oh, I got this really cool thing that a makeup artist friend of mine got me. I'm gonna bring it over and show it to you guys because it's really cute. Gotta go get it. Oh, hello. Oh yeah, and something else I grabbed off of my bookshelf that's been kicking around, which in this light probably, trying to figure out if you can even see it, is Beetlejuice's bow tie from his wedding outfit. Still have that. Still have that kicking around. Computer, turn on the dining room light.
That's a gem. That's great that you have the book and the paperback book as well. And what's that you got there, Tom?
There's the sketch of Dante's.
All right, cool.
That's how we did it when we first designed it.
Brilliant.
Let's see what else I got. Yeah, these are the plans of the house and all that kind of stuff. But I got anything else that's graphically worthwhile showing? Oh, here's a sketch of it that Jack Johnson did for us of how it would look in the model. I don't know if you can see it. And let's see. That's just a house. Here's the cemetery.
That's all those guys gave me.
Yeah. That's a sketch of the original cemetery. Just charcoal.
Sorry.
What else I got? Something else.
So here's this doll, which is actually a pretty great one, and it's
It looks like mine.
It looks exactly like yours.
It looks exactly like yours. This one is. It's sculpted. I don't know what it's made out of, but it's kind of like a hard plastic.
Yeah.
So it's actually pretty good.
Do I see green hair on that?
No, it's kind of a weird yellowy.
Oh, okay.
Weird. It's really bizarre looking. It's a very strange color, actually.
Very good.
Oh, there you go.
Does everyone have like a favorite prop or item from a film that you got to hold on to that you
Oh,
cherish?
sure. I got a bunch of stuff like that.
I got rid of all mine.
Did you?
I'm donating them all to the
I ran out of
Academy
room.
Museum.
Yeah, I still have the little shrunken head guy kicking
That's
around.
good.
Oh, great.
Well, we may come at you then, because I'm helping to put together a museum for the Academy, and we're going to have a Beetlejuice exhibit, I think, of some kind.
This is this really cute little thing this friend of mine gave me. I don't know if you can see it or not.
I can see a reflection.
Oh, there's a reflection of the TV in it. You're not going to be able to see it.
Yeah.
But it's this
Oh,
like
I see.
little Beetlejuice floating around in this
Floating in the
box.
graveyard.
Yeah, and it's really a cool little thing. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's pretty cool. I
But
don't
if-
know if
but
that
if
was
he's-
like a.
But if he's floating in the graveyard, he's wearing the wrong outfit.
That's right.
Well,
But I don't know if he was if this was a Christmas decoration and somebody just made this little box, you know, or
Yeah.
what they did. But it's really
Cool.
kind of a cool thing it's in.
Yeah, it looks very turn of the century.
It
you know,
does,
kind of-
yeah. A fun thing.
We have some comments on the chat. V. Jordan was saying earlier when you were talking about, you were trying to remember the name of the prop company. Was it Sideshow Collectibles, by any chance?
It's like Sideshow.
Okay, and that's what they're
That's
saying.
the Edward Scissorhand thing I have. It's like Well, that's like Sideshow, but obviously it's not a Sideshow.
And then Aurora says, thank you guys for taking your time to do this and put it on. It was really fun and interesting. Chris says, thank you so much for putting this on. Great to hear all these stories and bits of trivia on set. Can't wait to revisit the Frida Cinema again. Can't wait to have you back, Chris. That was fantastic. Thank you.
Yes,
That was
thank
great to
you,
just-
V. Thank you, Tom.
You're
Thank
welcome.
you, Robert.
You're
it's
very
really
welcome.
great. I'm so glad that you got to experience this. It was really fun hearing all of your stories and seeing you guys interact, especially having, you know, not seen each other for so long, especially since this project. So I really appreciate it.
You're welcome.
And
You should do one for
pleasure.
you should do another one that's the Tim Burton series. Do Edward Scissorhands next. I'm doing a thing for them tomorrow for somebody. Some guy's putting together a documentary. I'm being interviewed at 2:00 tomorrow for that one.
Oh, for
definitely,
Edward Scissorhands?
Yeah.
Cool.
would love to have you on again. I will definitely be planning something like that. I've seen that you've worked on so many of the same Tim Burton movies. I love Ed Wood, of course. Batman Returns. We did a really big celebration for that in the 25th anniversary with the Frida Cinema. We teamed up with them and an underground club where we hosted our own Max Grade party based off of Max Schreck's costume party from the end of the film. So
Yeah.
people came from as far as Arizona and Utah
Wow.
to come in costume and just dance the night away. And then we watched the film up on the big screen. It was a lot
Yeah.
of fun.
Where did you have it? Where did you do it?
Over here at the Frida Cinema in Santa
Okay.
Ana,
Yeah.
which is Michelle Pfeiffer's hometown.
Yeah.
Who knew?
Cool. Which
Yeah.
reminds me, Michael Keaton's supposed to be coming back as Batman. Ooh,
Really?
Is that right?
Really?
That's right.
Yeah,
there's
I
a
believe in the-
crossover.
in the new Flash movie,
Wow.
there's a crossover with Batman, and Michael's supposed to be playing Batman.
Huh. So I remember Robert Pattinson was doing in the new Batman,
Oh, yeah.
but he got
Right.
ill, and I don't know
Yeah,
what's
yeah.
happening
No,
with
they're
that.
doing. Yeah, they're. I don't know. Yeah, it's like Warner Brothers is so strange. It's like every other movie there's a new Batman, but yeah, but there's the Pattinson Batman movie, but for the crossover with the Flash movie, I was reading where Michael's supposed to do like a guest cameo as Batman. I was like,
I won't be able to
okay.
deal with it for a guest cameo. I mean,
Yeah.
none of those guys are
Yeah.
very comfortable in those damn suits. I'll tell
Oh,
you that
yeah.
much.
Oh yeah. Funny,
I
sold.
did the first 3 Batmans. I know. I've heard it all.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, John Wesley Shipp hated me after the '90s Flash TV series. You know,
Okay.
that it just because the suit, all these suits are just such a pain to work in.
Yeah, no, I did the Tick, and that blue suit, and
Yeah.
it's a sweat city inside there.
Oh,
Oh my God, it's awful.
Well, thankfully, we've got the 30th anniversary of Batman Returns not too far around. Hopefully, maybe we'll be able to get you all down over here to the Frida Cinema. Hopefully, in the couple of years, it'll be nice and safe, and we'll get those doors open again. I want to thank you guys once again, and thank you to everybody who tuned in and contributed to the Frida Cinema. Logan, we got a couple of drive-in films. Frida Cinema has been hosting several drive-in screenings throughout the summer. They've been very good at that with great locations and huge crowds. You've also been doing some streaming, Logan. Where can people stream movies with the Frida Cinema?
Yeah, so all of our streaming films and our drive-in schedule and everything is on our website, which is thefridacinema.org. So thefridacinema.org. Thanks, Cody. Thank you so much, Cody, with Nostalgic Nebula. you came to us 5 years ago with an idea. What was your first event?
Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, 1990.
Wow.
Steve Barron.
So great, and with this vision of providing folks sort of an immersive opportunity to not just watch a film that they grew up on, but hear from talent like yourselves, decorate the lobby so that there are thematic elements from the film, string quartet tributes to the scores of the film, and just really celebrated these movies. And we miss it. We miss doing it. We will do it again. But in the interim, I think that these reunions that you've been putting together are just fantastic. The Hellraiser one, I don't know if anyone had a chance to see it, but it blossomed from initially 2 or 3 guests to a full
right.
10-person reunion, and it just meant a lot to the fans. And I mean, Beetlejuice is such a beloved movie, so just really as a person who was on the show, I had such a blast just hearing you all talk and reminisce about this incredible film. And your careers. So thank you for that.
Sure.
Yeah, people are going to be studying this watch party for times to come, because I know there are so many little nuggets. I'm going to have to rewatch it for everything that I might have missed for just a second, because it's just so full of information.
Is this recorded? Is this recorded on YouTube?
Yes, it'll be on YouTube for indefinitely, and I'll also get you some recordings as well. I'll forward you.
Great, just send me the link or something. That'd be great.
Okay, yeah, definitely, no problem.
Absolutely.
That'd be wonderful. Thanks, Cody.
Thank you, Veal. Thank you, Robert, and thank you, Tom. Thank you, everybody, for joining us.
Thank you, Cody.
This is Cody with Nostalgic Nebula. Be sure to join us if you're in the Orange County area on December the 19th. We're teaming up with the Frida Cinema for a 10th anniversary screening of Harry Potter and the Goblet of Fire for their drive-in cinema. Go ahead and come in your best house robes and your best costumes, because we are celebrating the Yule Ball. So you're going to enjoy that. Thanks, everybody, and have a great night.
All right.
Thanks, everyone. Take care.
Thank you.